Good afternoon and welcome to Brunel University London's Neurorehabilitation MSc online presentation and Q&A session with Dr. Cherry Kilbride. I now have pleasure in introducing Dr. Cherry Kilbride.
Thank you very much. It's my great pleasure to be here on a Monday evening here in London, and I'd like to say the sun was shining, but it's England after all. Just a little bit about myself, so you know what I've been doing along in my career pathway. I am a physiotherapist, and I trained quite a few years ago. I've had a long career in the National Health Service. Indeed, I still work in the National Health Service 1 day a week in a central London hospital. This, I think, allows me to stay really embedded within the world of neurology. Neurorehabilitation is my passion, has been my passion really since my student days. And since then, I've done such things as head up the National Specialist Interest Group for Physiotherapists in Neurology. I've sat on the Department of Health Stroke Strategy Group. I've been part of the Royal College of Physicians Stroke Guidelines, National Guidelines, the 2 last editions, and was the National Lead Physiotherapist. And last year I was very humbled to be given a fellowship for the Chartered Society of Physiotherapy, which is the highest accolade you can get from your own profession. Anyway, more about the course and less about me, but from that you can tell that I'm very passionate about my subject, and that, I hope, comes across in the teaching and the delivery of the overall programme. So I'm just trying to make the slides work now, so just bear with. Okay, and it still doesn't want to work, so now I've just spotted where it is. There you go, we're nearly there, and still nearly there. It doesn't want to go to... Right, little teething problem on a Monday, technology and myself. So who's the course for? It's for post-registration physiotherapists, occupational therapists, speech and language therapists, dietetics, any people who come under the umbrella of allied health professional rehabilitation specialists. We've also had involved people who work in vocational rehabilitation, who aren't classical therapists by background, and we've also had clinical scientists. And I think one of the nice things about the course is that we can adapt our assessments to, as long as you've got the strong interest in neurorehabilitation and wanting to learn more about it, then we can adapt and help to make you feel welcome and part of the group. So you have to have, though, absolutely an interest or be a specialist in neurological rehabilitation. We're able to really delve into the evidence for neuro rehab from multiple focuses. So I think it's really, it really helps to pique and grow your interest in this area. Ideally, a qualified therapist who has got some work experience within neurorehabilitation, I think enables you to maximise your learning from the course, but equally, for instance, this year I've got somebody on the course who is newly qualified, and we sort of draw on experience then from student days and things. So, there's a will. I usually find there's a way about things as well, and coupled with your own enthusiasm, then we will always find a way. So who are our students? So the graduates, 45% you can see, okay, these are figures from a few years ago, but still very relevant. So our UK graduates make up nearly half of them, EU students and overseas. So you can see it gives a really nice mix. Demographics, we take in 12 to 15 a year students. A bit of a mix between full-time and part-time, so slightly 60-40 there. Primarily physiotherapists make up the bigger group, but then we are the biggest AHP group. So I think that just reflects the ratios within general healthcare. Everybody's friendly anyway, so that's the main thing. In terms of overseas students, South Asia, Singapore, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and I was going to Malaysia. Really interesting cohorts of people from countries which, for me, one of the highlights of this programme is that we all learn from each other. So China as well, and we all learn about each other's healthcare systems, and I think that's a really valuable aspect of learning. I really enjoy it anyway. I probably shouldn't say this to too many people, but my highlight of the week is my MSc Neuro Rehab teaching on a Tuesday morning. Okay, so more about the MSc in Neuro Rehab. So it is an MSc and it's postgraduate, post-registration course. So this doesn't give you registration to become a physiotherapist or an allied health professional within this country. So it's a post-registration course. And for clinicians or people with an interest in neurological rehabilitation, it is an academic course. So we don't have practical placements, but I say the fact that the important thing about this is that we teach you to think differently, or you teach yourself to do that, because through the 7 taught modules that we have, plus the dissertation, you will be stretched and you will enjoy that because it's an area that you love, to have in-depth and critical teaching and learning. You really have to challenge your own practice. It's time away from that clinical work phase to really be able to delve into what you're doing, why you're doing it, and what's the evidence that's underpinning that. So you will be able to develop specialist knowledge and also design, evaluate, and implement research of your own to help go towards the evidence-based practice within the area. So whilst there may not be practical, hands-on skills, it's about how we teach you to do those things better by thinking about your application of that practice. And that's essential. And what I think is crucial about master's level work. So a little bit about us within the College of Health and Life Sciences. So we're based within the Department of Health Sciences. Our teaching team, rehabilitation specialists with extensive clinical experience, and I think that's essential as well. You know, we come with backgrounds in having worked or still working with patients, and we draw the team from physiotherapists, OTs, clinical scientists, cognitive rehabilitation psychologists, and guest clinical lecturers, including speech and language therapists and the such like. We also have a very research active team. To be here at Brunel, you do have to be research active and you engage, and that really is embedded within your teaching and your engagement with students in research as well. The team have got varied interests ranging from stroke rehabilitation to neuroscience application for rehabilitation, cerebral palsy in children and adolescents, multiple sclerosis, dementia, chronic pain, exercise and physical activity, and also we have somebody who is very well respected within the Cochrane systematic review systems, and so we also have people with lots of experience in that area as well. Focusing on research that may look at neuroplasticity and health and disease, the evidence base of neurological rehabilitation practice, which is huge when you think about all of the different pathologies that one can see. So there's a never-ending stream of things for us to look at. It's about how do we design our research and evaluate our practice, trying to get the best from those different pathologies, and how's the best way to look at things. Also within that, it's going to be about engaging with advances in neuro research, neurological research, and the practice that goes on. So it's all about engaging, evaluation, thinking, trying to look at all of the things that are at the forefront of neurological rehab. You can have a go at, so in the picture that you see here, somebody's doing transmagnetic stimulation, cranial stimulation, so you get hands-on experience with advanced brain research techniques. We also have time in a functional MRI scanner. So, you know, we can look from the laboratory end right through to actual, you know, what happens, how am I delivering my best service back in my health environment, be wherever that might be around the world. So features of the course. For this year, it is it's just a full-time course for 1 year. We were running part-time, and that will be up and running again once we've just done some reconfiguring to make our program even more exciting than it already is. We have tutorial support linked with Ask, which is our academic support service at Brunel, which is actually award-winning, and they are brilliant. We have Brunel International, which provide excellent support, particularly around English, for any of our overseas students. Our MSc dissertation project has flexibility. We help people undertake their studies back in their home country if this is something that you're interested in. One of my colleagues has a particular interest in always nabbing students who will be wanting to do this, having herself undertaken her PhD stroke rehabilitation research in Indonesia and having previously worked in India for a long time. So there's lots of us that can help you to think about undertaking research that has direct application to your services back home. We can also facilitate professional courtesy visits to rehab centres and units that students have recently been to. Have been such places as the Oliver Sangwell Centre, which is Addenbrooke's Cambridge, which is in the east of England, Queen's Square, which is part of the Institute of Neurology and the Hospital for Neurology and Neurosurgery, which is in central London, and the National Spinal Injury Centre, which is in Aylesbury, which is just north of the London region. So it is possible for you to go out and experience and talk to people or observe practice in this country. So in terms of what modules you're going to be engaging with whilst you're here alongside your dissertation, we start off with looking at things such as the neurophysiological basis of rehab of movement. So things that are really going to underpin your clinical knowledge that you're coming with so far. And then we have another module, just ignore all those numbers, functional neuroscience for rehabilitation, again one that's essential for underpinning and stretching your theoretical understanding. And then we wouldn't be complete without thinking about how do we best analyse and critically appraise the evidence. So we have a module dedicated to that around principles and practice of evidence-based healthcare. And then we have a big 30-credit module. This is actually my module, which is called Clinical Applications in Neurorehabilitation. And within that, we look across the field, from impairment to activity to participation, environmental and personal factors, which some of you may recognise as being the subsections of the International Classification of Functioning Health and Disease, which we use that as a framework to look at all of the differing aspects and components of neurological rehabilitation. We then have one which enables us, because as we know with neurology, it's not just about movement, the brain and movement is completely interrelated. And so we have a module that's dedicated to that around cognitive and behavioural issues in neurological rehabilitation. Then we get down to how do we support you within your dissertation. First of all, you have to think about what research design or increase your knowledge about research design, along with this other module where we talk about approaches to research. And these are both generic because you have to have a good grounding in general information around research and how to undertake it, because depending upon what question you decide upon in conjunction with your supervisor, that you will then just that will then lead the design that's best to answer your question. And when you have that question, you then undertake a 60-credit dissertation to demonstrate your learning, where you actually collect your own, so you design and you collect and you analyse and you write up. Within that, we'd be doing an extensive literature review as well, all with support from a supervisor. But do remember, this is master's level work, and you know, so therefore it's going to be led by you but guided by your supervisor. And your dissertation will be something that you will be immensely proud of when you've finished it. There's been some excellent ones that I've had the pleasure of reading. Okay, so what about our learning environment? Well, it's very friendly, and we tend to work within small groups, which is really nice, because at master's level it's about sharing of exchange of knowledge, it's co-creation of knowledge. I always think I learn as much from my students as hopefully they learn from me. It's about we share clinical experiences or our work experiences if you happen to come from a slightly different non-clinical area, and we encourage active participation at all times. The more you actively participate, the more you learn. And we've got development of academic, well, you'll develop academic research and writing skills, and you get help from senior clinicians there. So really slightly repeats, but working and sharing together within peer groups. So I suppose that there could really mean more that you could be working in a small group together on a project, which then you bring back into a seminar to present in class, and then we do some more small group learning around that. We have lots of access to learning resources, be it whether it's print, multimedia, and our library is second to none in terms of the help and support that they give to you as well. And we know that the internet has made the world a very accessible place. So what do our students say about us, our graduates? I just pop these up here. I'm not going to play this now, but Helen Knott is, or still, yeah, a senior physiotherapist from Oxford, which is just west of London. And you would be able to see there on the slides that you can listen to Helen's testimonial at your leisure. But she will say she is a practicing physiotherapist. And for me, the best thing that I can see on the student evaluation at the end of the module in the programme is that students feel that they have changed the way that they think. For me, that makes me jump up and down in great glee, because if that can happen, that's you know, that's the team's job done. Some of our students, you know, really get interested in research, and curiosity really bites them. And here you can see Valentina, who came to us from Italy. We also currently have another Italian physiotherapist on board at the moment, and I've put both of these up. So Valentina kindly mentors the current student that we have. And Valentina now is studying for a PhD in Australia, and we have also we've got a joint publication. So directly from her dissertation, we've written that up, and it's been published in an international journal called Disability and Rehabilitation, and that's the link to it there if you wish to read it again for bedtime leisure. So, so you can see that we really continue to support our students post, post their degree, and it's great to be able to see that hard work that's gone into a dissertation actually getting into print. And really that does, you can see Valentina there raising a glass, and certainly that's what we've done when we've got that publication, raised a glass to that. This is written text from another student that we had, who was an occupational therapist from Singapore. She really felt, you can see that headline, that the experience at Brunel has helped to influence her practice in a positive direction in the future. And I am going to just read out what she writes here. An opportunity to pursue further studies arose after many years of working as a clinician in Singapore. My interest in clinical specialisation as an occupational therapist has been in neurorehabilitation, and therefore the MSc in Neurorehabilitation at Brunel was the natural choice. The course is very challenging without a doubt. However, the support from lecturers has been praiseworthy. The emphasis on neuroscience has helped me understand in much more depth many pathologies I've seen in patients. I am sure this knowledge will go a long way in the future, enhancing the quality of patient education and communication with the multidisciplinary team back home. This motivated and challenged me to put on new lenses in viewing the familiar aspects of day-to-day clinical work. Brunel University London has a great learning environment. And for me, that really captures what I've been trying to say, that if we can help you think differently, and Pei has just explained that really nicely in terms of it helped her put on new lenses to look back at the familiar aspects of everyday clinical work. So in terms of, you can see destination of MSc Postgraduates, you know, it enables people to have career advancement into more senior posts, certainly here in the UK, and I'm sure it's the same in many countries. People are expecting to see that their clinicians are working and able to work at a master's level. They want to know that they can step that level of criticality and critical thinking about evidence and lots of information, how to filter, synthesize, you know, all of those really important transferable skills. So it can help within your career advancement. And as you saw there with Valentina, and actually she's not the only student, we've had a number of students go on to study for their PhDs, that they can do that. Or you can get into clinical research and have specialist research associate roles, which can be another stepping stone into a PhD study. And lectureships in allied health professions. So it enables you to take again that first step into becoming a lecturer within academic profession. You will then ideally need to go on and do your PhD, but you would have had that grounding in having a master's level work. So just coming towards the end of my prepared presentation, you know, the advantages, or why come on our course? Well, you know I'm going to come across as being biased, but it does have an outstanding reputation, and it has been rated excellent by external examiners and our graduates. Certainly when I was working full-time in the clinical field within neurorehabilitation, I would always encourage people to come forward and come on this course at Brunel. It really, for me, provided people with the stimulation to change their clinical practice. It is an advanced course that focuses on the evidence base within neurorehabilitation. And, you know, we've got a great location in London. We're a campus university, which enables you to, you know, live and study in the same area, but you only have to hop on the tube and, you know, in a very short period of time, you're in central London. But we're not quite as expensive as being in a central London university, so that has to be a real positive plus. Having just had a son who went to a central London university but had to come home and live at home because it was too expensive. Anyway, it's lovely to have him back. And this is a multidisciplinary master's, so it's not just about looking, say, at physio or at OT or at speech and language therapy. And when you start to work at that level, you'll know yourself you need a multidisciplinary approach for the complexity of the patients that we see in practice. So therefore, for me, it makes sense that you therefore study as a multidisciplinary group. So this master's program offers that, and I believe that that is one of its real strengths. As I've said before, I love the fact that we have an interaction with students, sharing experiences from working here in the UK, within the EU, and further overseas. It really brings such cultural richness to our thinking. And looking and thinking about cultural experiences is actually one of the, we do that in an explicit way within one of our tutorial seminars within the clinical applications module that I lead. And as I've said before, it can help you with post-course career prospects within this country and abroad, and so therefore help you with your employment. So thank you very much for listening to me tell you about our Masters in Neurorehabilitation. I know you can't see me, but I'm smiling and I'm animated even about this programme. Hopefully that's come across in my voice to you, and really looking forward to hopefully meeting some of you come September or on the induction week in that time in the academic year, and I promise to put my teeth in properly by then. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kilbride. That was a very interesting presentation. So now if our listeners would like to ask a question, I see we have a question from Mary, who would like to know how many days a week she would need to be on campus and how many hours a day roughly is the course.
Thank you, Mary. That's a really good, solid question. The course will run for 2 full days over the year, over the academic year, and these are likely to be on a Tuesday and a Thursday. So those days are pretty packed, so I would say expect to be in university full-time on those 2 days each week. And of course, there will be lots of studying outside of that time as well. So thank you for that, Mary.
Jade would like to know how are students assessed on the course.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Jade. We have a variety of assessment modalities on the course because we believe that, you know, we all learn in different ways, we all have different strengths, so we try to reflect that in our assessments scheduling with students. So we have a mix of oral presentations, your standard written work such as essays or lab reports. We have some scene papers and questions and answers. We have multiple choice. So really, in many ways, I think we probably fit all formats in terms of thinking about how students are assessed. And we always listen to feedback from our students each year and try to get the timing of the assessments as spaced out as we can. Of course, you know, you have to undergo a certain amount of the module before you can be assessed on it. So, you know, there will be some little clusterings of assessment, but, you know, time management is one of those marvellous skills that you learn working at this sort of level as well. So therefore, you know, that I think having a good schedule for yourself in terms of your assessments, then that's really helpful. So in summary, lots of different ways that we assess people. Yeah, so oral and written. So thanks very much, Jade, for that question.
Andrew would like to know if there's any opportunity to visit the campus because he missed the open days.
Oh, right, okay, Andrew. Yeah, I mean, in terms of if you want to get in contact with myself or with somebody from the admissions team, and you can email admissions@brunel.ac.uk, and just repeat that, it's admissions@brunel.ac.uk. And we usually have some lovely students who are student ambassadors, and that they can help to arrange to show you around. Just recently, I managed to coincide it being in on the university campus when somebody from India who obviously wasn't able to make the open day either, one of the presentation evenings. So a student very kindly showed her and her parents around, and then I had a little question and answer session with them as well. So we try to be as adaptable and as flexible as we can. So just drop that, just drop admissions a line at that email address.
Alex would like to know when is the deadline for application for the course?
Oh yes, deadline for the application. I think that is August the 25th. Yeah, sorry, I was just checking my diary then to make sure that I was giving the correct information. So August the 25th, so lots of time yet to get your applications in, and please do go ahead. It's a great master's programme.
Another question from Sue. Could you tell us about some of the guests that might come in and give us lectures?
Lovely, yeah. So it's a real, as I say, a real team effort delivering this programme, which is one of its strengths. So I have a colleague who is a speech and language therapist who comes in to look at communication, but from a different angle. You know, you might think like, oh, speech and language therapist, communication, of course that's what they're going to come in and talk to us about. But I can promise you, you come on this course, you'll be stimulated to think about this in a completely different way. She's a colleague who's undertaken a PhD, has done some really interesting work with aphasia, so with people who can't speak, and also now trying to look at something called the humanisation framework. So really some interesting concepts which I think will really challenge your everyday ways that you think. I also have, or we also have, very well respected clinical academics that come in, so people who are currently hold what we call an NIHR fellowship, so that's the National Institute for Health Research, so they're highly esteemed positions to have, and we're lucky enough to have contributions from colleagues who are carrying out that type of clinical research. One in particular, very, very knowledgeable about spasticity management. This particular person is also a prescriber and injector. So, you know, can really talk to you about the nitty-gritties of trying to manage that complex presentation, both within traumatic brain injury and within stroke.
Claire would like to know something about the possible career paths after the course.
Okay, Claire, thank you. As you know, I think when you get stimulated to work and think at a master's level, and I know I keep repeating myself with that, but it really is the thing that's different. So I think that will enable you to take those skills that you've learned, they're transferable into many fields. So, you know, perhaps if you thought you might want to do more around, you know, a clinical management role, I think it really helps with that. You know, if you want to come into more research, it really gives you that taster of having undertaken your own research projects. And also, if you want to stay primarily as, or, you know, entirely as a clinical therapist, and that's fantastic, it means that when you're helping us train the next generation of therapists for whichever health service you might be working within, you are there stimulating their brains and helping train them with all of the up-to-date information. And perhaps it means we don't have to quite so often do that. Very good question. Now I'd like you to go home and look that up tonight and come back and tell me tomorrow, which is, in other words, known as, I don't know, but I'm not going to tell you that, so you go away and tell me and I'll look it up this evening as well. Okay.
Very interesting. We've had lots of interesting questions.
Oh, I can see one popping up there now. It's one from, oh, who's that? Mark. Mark's asking about pediatrics and whether this is just, it looks like whether this is just an adult course. It's not primarily well, it's not a pediatric specialist course, but we definitely have, every year it seems, people with an interest or coming from the clinical field of working with neuropediatrics. And very much, you know, because of you can focus your assignments into the areas that you want to be looking at. Certainly within my module, it's down to you to decide whether you want to look at particular treatment or whether you want to look at a particular pathology or an assessment or an outcome measure. So it allows you to tweak these things into the areas of, you know, adolescents or younger children with cerebral palsy or, you know, sensory dysfunctions. So I have currently, on the current course, we have an OT who's working with children and also a physiotherapist that's working with children. And it really brings that good aspect, different aspect, but complementary aspect into are teaching. And certainly one of our active research projects at the moment is called the STAR project, and that's looking at strength training and resistance training in adolescents with cerebral palsy. So actually we're recruiting from the ages of 10 up until 19, and that's a randomised control trial of looking, let's say, at specific strength training. We're nearly up to our recruitment figures, so it's all very exciting. So thank you for that. That was a good question. Well, I think that's been a good spread of questions, and I think I'll stop there. And I do hope to greet and see you in person, and look forward to working and learning alongside you in due course.
Thank you, Dr. Kilbride, and thank you to the people that attended the webinar today. So goodbye, and thank you very much for attending.
Bye.